Welcome to knitting! Yay! I'm going to be showing you two methods of casting on. I'm going to put them in separate videos so that it's easier to edit. Today we're going to be learning the long tail cast on, and you can figure out which one that you prefer. I like one better than the other. I like the increase method. This one takes a little bit more, but we're going to start with the long tail cast on. So it's exactly what it says. You're going to have a long tail of yarn and then your working yarn that's coming off of the ball. The working yarn comes from the right, the tail yarn comes from the left. And there's a formula for figuring out how long that tail yarn needs to be. So when you're working with a smaller, like a worsted weight yarn, that is going to be a 1/2 inch per stitch. So if I need 20 stitches to go on my needle, then I'm going to need 10 inches of tail yarn for that. Oh, when you first start, it's just like learning how to write. They give you those big fat pencils so that you can learn your motor coordination, and then you can fine tune that. Same thing with knitting. This is a size 10 millimeter needle and an extra chunky yarn. I like to use that for instructional videos because you can see it. And if you start in that, then you can gradually learn and you can see how the functions work, and you can branch out from there. So you're going to make a slip knot onto your hook on your needle. Always keep that a little loose because you're going to have to put the other needle through there. Okay, so let's get some basics here first. That tail yarn is going to the left, the working yarn to my right. So there are 2 stitches in knitting, and the knit stitch goes to the bottom of that, well, from left to right, and you put that needle in through the loop, see this loop, under your static needle. Okay, your left needle is your static needle. Unless you're left-handed, then it'll be your right needle. Static needle does little to nothing. Working needle is in the right hand. Kind of turn it to where you can see, go through that loop under the needle, and that's how you make a knit stitch. The purl stitch, same thing. It's coming from right to left like that, and instead it's a backwards knit stitch is what it is. So you're going to go through the loop on your needle on top of the needle. See, so knit stitch goes left to right under the needle. Purl stitch goes right to left on top of the needle through the loop. We're not even going to use that right needle right now. We're going to use just one needle to get all of these stitches on. So the working yarn's coming from the right. You're holding it in your right hand like so, and the reason you wrap it that way is to help with tension. So it's going to go around your thumb like so. Okay? And this is going to become your stitch, basically. So the needle is going to go under. You're going through the yarn under your thumb like that. Let's look at that again. Under the yarn, under your thumb. You just kind of hold it there with your hand. You're going to take this working yarn on the right hand and wrap it around the end of your needle. I'm going to show you the way that I do it, and there's different styles, but what I may do may resonate with you in some way. There may be something you've been hung up on that you couldn't get past, that you can't hear it from someone else, but maybe something I'll say will let that light go off in your head. Hopefully. That's my goal anyway. Okay. So we're holding the yarn, the tail yarn in the left hand, We're going to wrap the working yarn around the end of the needle. Now here's the so-called tricky part. We're going to take this loop that's around my thumb and pass it over the end of the needle like this. See? And then you just tighten it up. So now you've added a stitch to your needle. So basically you're kind of knitting with your hands right now to get the stitches on the needle. So let's look at that again. So we're going to wrap around the thumb, under the yarn, under the thumb, yarn over with your working yarn, and then pull that thumb loop over the end of the needle and let go. See that? We'll talk through it one more time and then I'll work it and let you see. Wrap the thumb, under the thread, under the thumb, yarn over working yarn around the needle, thumb loop off the end of the needle. See? And you want to keep them kind of loose because when you start knitting, you're going to be putting that needle into those stitches. And if it's too tight, you won't be able to do that. Okay, so we're going to put on, let's just do 10 stitches. Hopefully that'll be enough to let us measure gauge. So just watch as I go. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. You're not going to be fast when you're first starting. Easy peasy. All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, one more.